Hello, welcome to Brown Dog Gadgets Live. I'm Amanda, the Education Outreach Coordinator here at Brown Dog Gadgets. Behind the camera, I've got Andy with me today. Say hi, Andy.
Hi.
Today we are going to be actually building the clapper and talking about the code. And, I know, the clapper. To be fair, I was not very confident in my ability to talk about the code, but now that I've looked at everything that Pete left me, I think I'm ready. So we shall see. But before we jump into that, if you have not followed us on our social media platforms, please do so. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and YouTube. Also, the guides for everything you see here today, as well as everything else we have, can be found on browndoggadgets.com. If you have any questions about what we're posting today, or just want to comment and say hi, feel free to chat with us as we go. But if you have questions afterwards, you can always email us at help@browndoggadgets.com. Awesome. Let's jump into this, Andy. We're going to switch to that overhead cam. Perfect. So this is the clapper. We've got 3 LEDs that are hooked up to pin 3, pin 6, and pin 7. And then once I add the battery pack, it's going to do something specifically that I want to tell you before I start it up. So once I give it power, it is going to beep. And then it's going to be listening for sound in the room. It's doing a calibration of the sound in the room. And then it will beep another time and it will light up. So I'm going to be quiet for that part. All right, so the calibration is done. And you can see that my voice is plenty loud to get it going. If I actually had the calibration while I was talking, then it would need to be above and beyond that. And we'll look at the code and figure out kind of the why behind all of that. But it is also, it's bothering me that it's blinking on off. It is also it's kind of like the clapper that came out in 1984, right? The clap on, clap off, you're clapping the lights on and off. But it's also kind of a combination of the clapper and like trick birthday candles, where you clap and it goes off, but then it comes back on. So we'll show you why that happens in the code. So it's calibrating. I'm going to talk through it a little. So you can see that it's not adjusting. I have to get a little bit louder for it to actually go off right now. There we go. Awesome. All right, I'm going to set this to the side. Also, just for fun, I thought I'd show you our 3D printed large MicroBit. It's one of Pete's projects. And then, Mike, I don't know if you're here. You haven't said anything yet, but I do have the gigantic one that I've mainly been waiting to show Mike. So Mike's not here though, and that's okay. All right, we're gonna jump into looking at the code for the clapper. Yeah, oh, there's Andy.
Did I do that right?
I don't know which one this is. Is it the screen over? Is that the one you pressed?
Overlay.
There it is.
All right.
Awesome. All right, so for the clapper, did you hear that, Andy? Did you hear the bloop?
I did.
Yeah, that means we have a comment. It might be Mike.
It is Mike.
Hey, hi, Mike. So here you go, Mike. Large, giant, yep, and regular. I know, fancy. Pete brought it in the other day, and then I don't think you were there, and he was like, well, we'll leave it in here for now. Awesome. All right, so for the clapper, there are a couple things that we want to look at. So here's the post itself. Andy, I'm going to have you switch over to the code tab for me.
I am trying. However, the mouse is getting lost from one screen.
Yeah, you can't do it on the left screen.
Okay.
You have to do it on the screen in front of you, on the right screen. So, yep. And then click. You should be able to click it on there. No, so it's behind all the like eCam stuff.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right. So the second tab is the code. Perfect. All right, so first you'll notice the on start block on the far left there. The first thing we're doing that we've done with most of our projects is we're LED enable false. So we're making sure that the LED matrix on the front is not active. And then the next thing we're doing, which we haven't done yet, is we're setting the built-in speaker on the MicroBit to on. We also have a piezo speaker piece that we can connect to things, but in this situation, since we're using version 2 of the MicroBit, we can use the speaker and the microphone right on the MicroBit. So we're going to set the built-in speaker to on. Then it says call calibrate. So we've got a calibrate function and call lights on. And then side note, Andy,
Yes.
I think if you click the comments that are coming through, it'll come up on the screen, I think. You may have to scroll down to get to them.
Boy,
I know.
you are
It's
asking
a lot.
of somebody who's done this twice.
That's okay. That is okay, Andy. If you can't find it, oh well.
Yeah, I don't know where it went.
That's okay. It's probably behind the window. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about the function calibrate. So the first thing that this is going to do is going to calibrate based on the sound in the room. Because if you are in a very noisy environment and it's just using numbers to decide how the loud aspect, it could just always be triggered, right? If it's a very quiet environment and your clapping isn't loud enough, that can mess with it as well. So we want to calibrate for sound. One interesting fact is that we actually also calibrate with a different project that we have called the Rover, where we do our sound activated with NeoPixel. So the Rover will move based on the sound going over a certain level. However, the motors on the Rover make noise. So you have to calibrate to account for that noise. Otherwise, it's going to move automatically because it's hearing that motor noise and it's going to just always go and it won't work correctly. So that's another project that we have to calibrate for. So if we're looking in that function calibrate, the first thing that we do is we set a bunch of numbers. So the first thing is we're setting padding. The padding number, which is set to 75, is the amount that we're going to go over the sound that we have. So it's kind of like giving us this extra room to wiggle so it's not as sensitive. And that's definitely a number that you can adjust and mess with based on your needs. Then the next thing we have is the sound cal variable. That one is going to hold the final result of the sound levels we capture, and that's actually going to be the average. So we're setting it to 0, but that will change once we start actually listening and doing the calibration. Then we've got set sound cal all. That's going to be the total of all the samples that we take. And set samples to 10. So when we're calibrating, we're going to take 10 different samples of the sound level in the room. And then that's going to be our sound cal all. And then the sound cal is going to be the average of those. Does that make sense so far?
So how do we know
Exactly. So
when it's done calibrating?
after all of those set, when we're setting those starting values, it's going to play a tone. So we've got play tone middle B for half a beat. So that first tone tells you that it's starting the calibration. Then it's going to pause for 1,000 milliseconds or 1 second. And then it's going to repeat samples, which we've set to 10. So it's going to repeat that loop 10 times. And during that, it's going to do what's in that section there. So we're setting the sound cal all, which is the total, to the total plus the, what is that? I can't see that part there. Sound. I think you slid it over on me a little bit.
Sound level.
There we go. Yeah. So that each time it does the sample, it's going to take the total of all the samples so far plus the sound level for that sample and add it to it. And then it's going to pause for for 100 milliseconds, and it's going to do it again. So that number that was 0 for SoundCal All originally is getting all the sound levels from each sample added together. So that's going to give us our SoundCal All, or our total of the sound level for all 10 samples. Once it's done doing that, it's going to set SoundCal to, we're going to take that SoundCal All number, divide it by the number of samples. So we're taking the average. So we've got the total divided by the 10, plus this is where the padding comes in. We're taking the average of the sound levels, adding the padding of 75. That way it gives us a little bit of room to work with so it's not constantly triggered. So that's how we're setting the sound calibration. Does that make sense so far? I think I got it. And then at the end of all of that, it's going to play that second tone so you know that the calibration is done. Awesome. So then looking back on that on start block, we've got call calibrate, and then we're calling lights on. So the lights on function is literally just writing, digital writing pin 3, pin 6, and pin 7, which is what our LEDs are connected to 1 or on. So it's just going to call that lights on function right away. So that's why when you plug it in, it beeps, it doesn't do anything, or at least it doesn't look like it. It beeps again, and then the lights all turn on. So then it's waiting in that forever loop and waiting for something to happen. So in that forever loop, we've got an if-else block. So if the sound level is greater than that sound calibration, so remember that was our average plus the padding. If the sound level goes above that, then it's going to call the lights off function, which is just like the lights on, except all 3 pins are off. It's going to pause for 1 second, and then it's going to listen for it again.
Ooh.
Whoa, big zoom. If the sound cal plus the padding is not, or the sound level is less than that sound cal plus the padding, then it's going to just stay on. So it's going to call lights on, or it'll stay in that same situation that it is when we started it. That's pretty much it. Oh, and the one last thing, we've got on button A pressed, it'll call calibrate. So let's say the room level noise changes. You don't have to unplug the battery and plug it back in or hit the reset button. You can actually press button A and it will calibrate again, and it'll just kind of reset you. What do you think? How did I do? Did I explain it well, Andy?
That's about how I understand it.
Yes.
If that helps, essentially it's a comparative, right? So when you're recalibrating, all of this is kind of based on the comparison between what is measured to be the ambient volume or decibel level in a room.
Right.
That changes, but it's our definition of what the trigger noise is always going to be in comparison to that. And
right.
So
yeah. Hence the fact when I was talking here and it kept blinking and going off because my level was very low and I was noisy. Yeah. So that is the clapper. I know Pete wasn't actually watching, but I hope we did it justice. The great thing is that when Pete rewrote this project, he actually had really great tips, and he really laid it out nicely. I printed it out just so I would have it, like what the padding was, what SoundCal was, what SoundCal All is. So it's all right there. So when students are actually building this project, they can understand where these things are coming from. And honestly, I just sat there and read through what he gave us and what he wrote out, and it really makes a lot of sense. I think it would make a lot less sense if I just let Pete explain it and I didn't actually look through it myself. But yeah. So that is our project for today, which is the clapper. Next week, Tuesday, we will be doing a pinwheel project. Next week, Wednesday, we've got some Father's Day cards. And then And then I think you can hit front and it'll just go back to me on the thing on the desk. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Yep. And then next week, Thursday, we'll be jumping back into MicroBit University because Pete will be back with us next week. I do not know what we're doing for MicroBit University next week because I don't think we've decided yet. But it'll be something great. Keep moving along. If you have not followed us on our social media platforms, please do so. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or X, and YouTube. And then remember, the projects that you see here, the products, and all the different guides and templates and all that can also be found at browndoggadgets.com. And if you've got any questions for us afterwards, you can email us at help@browndoggadgets.com. That is all I've got for you today. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Thanks for watching. Please visit browndoggadgets.com for parts, projects, and curriculum. Follow us on social media at browndoggadgets. We'll see you next time.